Very pleasant. Good morning. Peel yourself off the mat Monday edition of the program here. Jeff DeForest. We got Mike Lubie Lubitz. So all set to go for another week. Figures to be a great week. And many things to discuss on the program today. The spotlight, of course, will be on the Women's World Figure Skating Championships. That's what we're going to lead. No, we're not going to do that. It's been suggested by some people that no longer are in communication. But nonetheless, wow. You know what? If you told me I was going to watch 5 football games over the weekend. Actually, 6 if you count Friday's college football game, Indiana and Oregon. Which, whoa, Luby, I don't know what you make of that. Kane 7.5-point underdogs. That's going to be a week from tonight. The national championship game. I'm still astounded. I mean, who goes to these games and is spending like $3,000 for nosebleed tickets, Luby? Is it all corporate stuff? I mean, is that all it is? You give your best clients tickets. You can get in a jackpot for that, right? Does that come under the heading of under the table payola? No, it just depends how you're doing it.
Yeah.
I've been involved in a case like that, and
Yeah.
would have to say, thank God Christy Nome wasn't in charge of Homeland Security at that time, or it's be in prison. But nonetheless, who's paying $3,000 to sit in a nosebleed to watch a football game? I mean, anybody you know?
I mean, maybe Indiana fans. Maybe Indiana fans are like traveling in masks because they did that in the Peach Bowl. Like that was very Indiana heavy.
Oh, no doubt. Yeah, no, I mean, they have reason to be happy and euphoric about this. 2 years ago, they were nowhere. Signetti comes in there and turns the whole program around, and now here they are. I mean, looking like beasts going into the national championship. We'll get into that, but the NFL clearly dominated what was going on over the weekend. Polyman sent me a text. He said that he had some guy trying to convince him the other day that soccer was the most exciting sport in the universe. Which naturally we would not necessarily be fans of that opinion. You're entitled to it if you believe that. And well, I mean, look what happened here. Certain people got elected to office, and there are many people still, probably a good portion of the country, even if the polls are off, and it's only 40% of the country that's in favor of this. Still, it's remarkable to think how many millions of people that represents. So there may be millions out there that believe that soccer is the most exciting sport that you could play.
Sure. Ugh.
But how could you possibly have asked for much more out of these NFL games that took place over the weekend? You had 6 games in all. 5 of them were just thriller and Manila type of stuff with a lot of 2 of the games, I believe, had 4 lead changes in the fourth quarter alone. And a couple of them really escalated in the fourth quarter. The Chicago game against the Packers. Wow, what a fourth quarter that was. That was wild. The Buffalo Bills game against Jacksonville, wild fourth quarter, seesawing back and forth. San Francisco and Philadelphia was all drama, and you thought maybe the Eagles were going to find a way at the very end to pull this thing out after San Francisco had made a bunch of remarkable plays. New England and the Chargers, even though the final was 16-3, that there were a lot of dramatic moments in that ball game. And the Chargers, in spite of only scoring 3 points, were not completely out of that at any stage of the affair. And Rams, Carolina. We thought maybe Carolina, Bryce Young, the much disparaged Bryce Young, might have pulled one out of their ass and won that ball game. But Matthew Stafford comes up with a remarkable throw at the end of the game. And the Rams ended up prevailing and moving on, as most people anticipated. 10.5-point favorites. That was supposed to be the big blowout.
That game didn't feel like it. That game was great.
But if you had told me that I was going to watch, and I didn't see every game in its entirety, but that I was going to watch that much football over the course of a couple of days, I'd have told you, hey, just put a bullet in my head because I'm wasting my life watching.
I didn't feel like that.
The other guy that probably should feel the most vindicated of anybody that we've ever said anything even slightly critical of in terms of his tactics, strategic philosophies, vindicated, and may he rest in peace, is Tony Sperano. No? Sperano might have been right all along. Take the points. Take the points. What is wrong with these people?
These guys with the field goal. Dan Lanning, and again, it ended up being a runaway, so it wouldn't matter, but he hates kicking field goals. Like, at some point, just kick the field goal.
You get the ball at the 10-yard line on a turnover, and you get it only to the 2 or 3 yard line, and it's 4th down. Put some points on the board. How many times we've said this all season long, Libby? We've seen this changing strategy and mostly brought about. Are we assuming that it's some analytic nerd, some guy that graduated from Princeton,
Yes.
that's up there in the press box somewhere, or maybe even on the roof, going, "The situation says 52% of the time you should just go for it." And it's funny too because we were screaming forever, Luby. We always hated the conservative coaches. When Shula used to kick field goals, we were like, "Oh, come on, Don, wake the f up."
It'd be like 4th and 1 from like the 5, and you have Marino. It's like, I mean, you can go for it. Like, and when the punting used to bother me. They'd be like the 38, and it's a little long for a field goal, so they punt. It's like, dude, you're at the 38.
Yeah,
And it's 4th and 1. Like, I mean,
I don't mind a philosophical change there in some circumstances, but is it not being overdone, Luby?
yes, yeah. Everything goes the other way. That's look. We talked about that with basketball. How the Heat Knicks in the '90s was horrendous to watch. Well, the Warriors and the Rockets of 2024 was horrendous to watch. Like, you can have overcorrection, overreaction, and that usually what happens. And now coaches have lost their goddamn mind. Like,
Any number of NBA games, you're right on it, Luby, with that allusion to the NBA. And Mushnick is the biggest advocate, Phil Mushnick in the New York Post, of how horrendous this new basketball approach is, where he'll point out that in a game that they'll end up being 100 3-point attempts by the two teams combined. Something in that neighborhood, 90, 100 3-point attempts, just insane.
not every team has that many shooters. Like,
You would have slashed the tires of a guy at the park if he was chucking up 53 pointers in a ball game. You got to be kidding me. But we saw it so many times, rear its ugly head, where teams failed to make a fourth down conversion inside the 10-yard line and ended up getting no points on the board. And then much later on in the ball game, when it came down to the wire, and you're in the fourth quarter, and you're sitting there going, "Man, how much of a difference would that 3 points have made?" Now we've said this, and this is another thing. This was a Mushnick philosophy that I picked up on years ago, and he's absolutely right. You cannot necessarily determine the subsequent series of events. In other words, people would say, "Well, geez, if he'd only caught that pop up, the game," you don't know what would have happened
no,
if the guy caught the pop up and stopped the rally, or if they had taken the field goal. You don't know what the subsequent series of events would have been. Could have been altered dramatically. But if you're just going by what's taking place since and saying, okay, how useful would those 3 points have been if things had gone similarly to how they eventually transpired? Am I making this more complicated than it is? Kick the effing field goal already once in a while. Just do it.
I don't mind in certain situations showing your gusto and all that, but like, they'll do it 2 and 3 times a game, and it's like, come on, man, just take the points. You need the points. Especially if it's a tight game, and it's like points are hard to come by, as I always used to say. Like, these are the playoffs. To me, it's a whole different thing. Again, that's what got Dan Campbell in a lot of trouble, and I think it's what we saw come to fruition this year without his coordinators to save him. A lot of it was pomp and circumstance. He wasn't doing it. It was his 2 coordinators and his GM who did all the heavy lifting, and he would come in on the white horse to call some psychotic attempt on fourth down. It just happened to work out. Like, there's nothing wrong with going for it and showing your balls, but like, to constantly do it, you're taking points off the board from your team that's busting their ass.
I remember when Belichick went for that fourth down. He had like a 4th and 19 against Peyton Manning and the Indianapolis Colts, and everybody was screaming. He was at like his own 8-yard line.
Yep.
But we're seeing an inordinate amount of times where teams are deep in their own territory early in ball games, and they go for it on 4th and 2, fail to do it, turn the ball over at their own 28, and end up a lot of times too where they end up yielding no points because the opponent then turns around and says, "You know what? They went for it. We're going to go for 4th down too." Crazy stuff. Crazy stuff. But you couldn't ask for more. I mean, it was the thrill in Manila, like 5 out of 6 games. And as I said, even that New England game had drama infused all throughout. It was laced with drama because you kept thinking that eventually Herbert and the Chargers are going to make some kind of play. Did that vindicate you with your Herbert? He wasn't terrible in this game, but they only put 3 points on the board.
He's better than Tua because they trust him to be their starter, but is he that much better than Tua? Like,
yeah, he's not much better than Tua.
We want to start over. They don't, and that's fine. I mean, he's now year 6, hasn't won a playoff game. They were against an upstart Patriot team that this time last year was not in the playoffs, and they scored 3 points. Like
What?
it's,
Yeah, go ahead.
I think the Herbert Tua discussion's done because Tua, I guess, will be a bad. I don't know what Tua will be going forward, but Herbert's not a top 5, top 6 quarterback either. Like he's a starter. He's a good quarterback, but that group of Burrow and Mahomes and Lamar Jackson and Allen that they always want to thrust Herbert in, he doesn't fit. Like he just doesn't.
Not yet. No,
He
not in
just
that
doesn't.
category.
I think he's good, and I that's the funny. I hated that debate because I like both quarterbacks. He's clearly prevailed because he'll be their starter, and Tua is not going to be for the Dolphins. But he also isn't what they want him to be either. Like I don't know what to do with Herbert because they change out coaches, they change out everyone on the roster. He's the one they built around him with defense and running now, and Jim Harbaugh who knows quarterback, and it's the same result. Like the Patriots should not have just controlled that game the way they did. I get it was a close, tight game, but 3 points. Like the Patriots aren't the 85 Bears. Like I don't understand that. Like that's confusing to me.
What impressed you the most? Who impressed you the most over the weekend? A lot of great performances. Naturally, your lean is going to be towards those who won the game. Trevor Lawrence, another guy that has been the subject and object of a lot of criticism. He throws a couple of picks. The last one, when they had a chance to come back and maybe get a field goal to tie the ball game, didn't have that far to go. I guess they started out around the 30-yard line. And gets a tipped ball. Now it was his pass that was tipped by the defensive back on a high, tight throw that was tough to complete. Ended up in an interception. That was kind of a fluky one. He had been picked off earlier in the ball game. He had that one play where I don't know. They can blame a guy when his shin touches the ground. Before he makes a 4th and 2 conversion, which it looked like he had made, but the replay showed otherwise. And he ended up turning the ball over to Buffalo on downs. So, who or what impressed you the most? And do you have now? We didn't see the 2 number 1 seeds, of course, but I don't know that I don't know that it's any bargain there. Seattle getting San Francisco now, right? Does San Francisco have a chance to upset Seattle based on what you saw? Played a tough game.
That's my problem. Is I look next round and all the underdogs scream to me like, they're not. They're actually not. At least the Bills aren't an underdog, and because I would go Bills in that game with all their experience. And yes, that game was tight, and yes, the Jags seemed to have it. And Josh Allen was Josh Allen and found a way with an offensive weaponry that no one can name, but found a way to go and win that game. So it gives you belief in the Bills. The Broncos are a weird team. Their offense isn't anything special, and their defense is really good, but it's a bunch of young guys that really haven't done this in the playoffs. That Niners Seahawks line is scary to me because I think the Niners are. I get it'll be at Seattle, and I'm not giving Seattle any credit because the Sam Darnold thing is still weird to me to see a guy do what he did and then it still work. Like he goes to the new team and he is it's not Geno Smith to the Raiders. Like he goes to the Seahawks and they're the number 1 seed. I mean, so they're legit. There's something about the Niners when Purdy's healthy and they have Trent Williams, as we've talked with Jason Cole in the past.
McCaffrey.
And they're hurt and McCaffrey's healthy. They're hurt all across the defense, but Robert Saleh's back as the DC, and he really knows what the hell he's doing when it comes to defense. Like, it's hard for me to believe that the Seahawks are going to win that game, especially they're favored by 7. Like, I don't know. I don't like that spread.
Buffalo on the road, they had a horrible record with Josh Allen. I think he was 0-8 going into this playoff game against Jacksonville in road playoff games. So Buffalo has to travel to Denver now. That matchup is set. San Francisco and Seattle going to go at it. Rams and Chicago, interesting matchup. Chicago, wow, you talk about cardiac kids. Remember when the Panthers, what was it? It wasn't when they won the Stanley Cup. Was it the year before when they were the cardiac kids and they kept coming back?
Yes, they did that year they lost. That whole year, remember, they almost didn't make the playoffs, and then they were down to the Penguins, and then they fought back, and then that whole playoffs, they sort of like ebbed and flowed and came back, and then eventually they started to look dominant until they met, what was it, Vegas?
Yes.
The injury list got to be too much, and
was that the season where in the regular season they kept coming back? They'd be down 3-0 and come back.
From what I recall, yes.
Okay.
They barely made the playoffs that year.
Tends to blend together as you get older.
It's been a long run for the Panthers.
Yes, but they had a one season where it was remarkable how many times they came back in the third period, late in third periods, and ended up winning games. And we're seeing that out of Chicago Bears. I think if you looked at the stat, they have maybe 8 games where they've been trailing in the final couple of minutes and come back and pulled it out of their fannies. Pretty impressive. The Rams have to travel to Chicago, not an easy place to play. That was kind of that really was emblematic of what you're looking for in championship caliber NFL football. The snowflakes starting to fall at the end of the game. Caleb Williams making a bunch of remarkable plays. Low completion percentage, but man, did he complete the right passes? I think he was sub 50% in the ball game, Caleb Williams. That was one of the concerns about him. That was one of the stated goals of the new head coach to get him to have a much higher completion percentage. I don't know that he accomplished that, but guy certainly plays with confidence late in ball games and looks much more the part. Remember how he was being disparaged coming out of USC? Like, geez, I don't know, the number 1 overall pick. He was somewhat risky.
Yes.
And then that first year under Eberfluss, who's since subsequently been fired as a defensive coordinator. Was he a defensive coordinator of the Cowboys? Matt Eberfluss?
I don't know.
He just got canned this year? I think so.
Yeah.
I want to say that. Don't fact check us. This has to be like
exactly.
Sort of interview / deposition with Christy Nome. Don't fact check us. I mean, never mind that the guy was filming this on his cell phone while he had his gun drawn.
Exactly.
So concerned about his safety, he's got the cell phone out there. Hey, look, Mom, I'm a law officer. Insane stuff going on around the country. It was nice to have the diversion of sports to go ahead and take our minds off what's going on around the rest of the world. But great stuff all the way around. So what did you come away with, Lubie? I mean, what are you thinking? Do we have a definitive road to the Super Bowl, or is it as wide open as it was during the regular season, only with less teams involved?
I don't like. It's weird because I mean, this kind of you had the Seahawks who didn't play. You had
Denver didn't play. Yeah,
Denver didn't play. But to me, I didn't see those 2 teams winning. So
I thought Seattle was playing the best football at the end of the year.
Playing great football. I don't know what to do with Mike McDonald as head coach, who's done a good job, and Sam Darnold as their starter, who's done a good job. There's just something there for me that's hard for me to like.
Tough place to play. That's not going to be an easy road game for Buffalo.
No. I mean,
they got the 12th man there.
The Niners. The Seahawks have the Niners. That's my problem is. The Niners and the Bills have this. It's like, to me, this is their year, right? Like the Eagles are gone. The Packers are now gone. Like
Packers never convinced me that they were the team.
No, it's what
even when they were up 21-3, I still was not watching that game with the certainty that the Packers were going to prevail. I believe in my personal bookmaking venture, I ended up getting stuck with the Packers, laying 1 on a hook. And no, it might have even been as low as 1. And I thought, well, how can you lose this one, Defo? And sure enough, and I'm more of a Bears fan. I mean, I just ended up getting stuck from a betting standpoint. It's not a substantial amount of money, but enough to make me think, you know what? F the Bears. I would like to see them advance and continue, but that's going to be very interesting to see how they handle Matthew Stafford and the Rams. And Stafford looked like he was on the brink of elimination, and some sensational plays. It was just good stuff all the way around, and it hasn't ended yet. Because you still have what I think is a very curious matchup. We did want to have a little taste on Houston to maybe go all the way. I'm not sure. I'm not convinced that they're capable of doing that. Haven't watched all of these other teams in action and not seen the 2 top seeds. We'll see how they fare tonight. They're on a 9-game winning streak. They go to Pittsburgh, which was an unlikely entrant. I mean, they were an eyelash away from elimination themselves in that game that got John Harbaugh fired, which has created many storylines that I'm sure will be explored and expanded upon during a week. Always good to have a subplot going when you're waiting a week for the next round of NFL playoff games. And the John Harbaugh story, of course, hits right here at home because it seems like the consensus is starting to formulate the opinion that Harbaugh goes one of 2 places. And that would either be the New York Football Giants, who covered his services desperately, but I don't know, Stephen Ross might unload discuss against the salary cap. Is that true that there was some deal on the table to offer an obscene amount of money to John Harbaugh, like a 10-year deal? Were you the one that brought that up to me? Somebody did.
I mean, the Dolphins want to. The Dolphins are, again, there's no salary cap on coaches or assistant coaches.
Yeah.
And that's where the Giants tend to be weary, and Stephen Ross doesn't give a crap. Like Stephen Ross will spend.
You're Ross in your 80. How many years over 80 years?
He's 85. I think he's 85, yeah.
You can't count on anything if you're 85 years old, can you? I mean, physical, an obvious example of it may have been deranged to begin with, but I mean, we're seeing substantial amount of dementia being exhibited by a certain person who's in a high position of authority in this country. No, we're in the middle of trying to convince these oil executives that they should invest hundreds of millions of dollars, billions of dollars into restructuring and redoing the Venezuelan infrastructure when it comes to oil production. In the middle of it, he gets up and goes and looks out the window and goes, "You believe that? Look at that ballroom. It's going to be beautiful."
Yeah, exactly.
Even, two total sycophants, Rubio and the Hegseth, they're looking around going, well, what's he doing? You think they were impressed with that? These guys, I mean, had to be that had to be one of the of many odd moments that we've seen of the current administration. That might have been one of the more bizarre. No, or just in the middle of the guy looks out. What a great view! Look at that ballroom. It's going to be spectacular. Meanwhile, it's looked like all we've seen are the remains of what was a wrecking ball that was taken to the building. So, but no, it was nice. It was nice to get this distraction. All right, Dave Hyde going to join us here in a few minutes on the program. Dave Hyde should have some perspective on what's going on here with this Harbaugh situation. Although, does anybody really know, Lubie? Does anybody really know what time it is?
I have no idea. I mean, I'm sure the Falcons are in there. I know the Giants are desperate. The thing is, the Dolphins aren't doing. The Dolphins are interviewing a bunch of different people, and they're open to different avenues. So that may lead to them not getting. I don't know. I just like the idea that they made moves that got them in the discussion for Harbaugh, because for so long, like, they would just stand pat. So
they cleared the deck. That's for sure.
There's an interesting few names out there that I think would do a good job. So if they don't get Harbaugh, I'd be okay. I'm just curious to see what happens with that, because the New York media and the Giants are very much all in. Like, they only want Harbaugh. There's no one else they want. He's going to save the day. It's going to be Coughlin coming in from his Jags days in his second tenure, which is going to be even more success. Like, the way that they have this hard on for Harbaugh has made me want him even more, just to tell him to go screw it. Like, I don't even care about New York, the Giants, at all, but it's the way they've handled this thing is so funny. Like, they're really like weird about it. Like, it's tea leaves central when it comes
to
like, they're like weird about it.
I mean, is that just the New York media? And you think these are the conversations? It seems like those would have to be the conversations that are circulating around the front office there. Now, we do have a new general manager here with the Miami Dolphins, the Sullivan guy, that comes from Green Bay. And then the other curious aspect of all of this is, and some would have speculated that Matt LaFleur was in some jeopardy at Green Bay. He's done a hell of a job there. I mean, has a great record. I think he's something like 70-40 in his career as a Green Bay head coach. The one decision, we've talked about it a million times here on the show, that stands out as bonehead is that time that he went ahead and kicked the field goal, pulled the Mike Tice, as a professor would allude, kicked a field goal instead of going for a fourth down. And that was one time I'm putting the ball in Aaron Rodgers' hands and saying, hey, let's win this game right here.
100% when you have Aaron Rodgers.
We need to go for this fourth down much more than we need to kick a field goal and try and get an onside kick. Odds of that are stacked against you. Even A, you could miss the field goal, and B, the odds of recovering an onside kick. I think now the rules have changed. I guess made it a little bit more difficult, but only 5 onside kicks have been recovered this year out of, I don't know, like 50 or 60.
They made it almost impossible. Before, you used to have a good shot because of bounces and the way you could line up guys. Now you can't line them up on one side. Now it's almost, you have to signal that you're going for a not. Like, they've made it almost impossible to get an onside.
The odds are not in your favor. It's surprising to me. I mean, there were 0 of them recovered throughout a major portion of the season, and then somehow the number went to 5, which was in the neighborhood of 10%, which isn't horrible. But if you're losing in 9 out of 10 situations, Lubie, the idea that hey, you know what? We'll kick the field goal and then we'll get the onside kick. That was a one bonehead decision I think Matt LaFleur made that was just glaring and reeking of weakness and cowardice.
Yep.
And Rodgers, I don't think ever forgot it, because he was never the same after that. Certainly not in the eyes of being in tune with the idea of going to the sticking with the Green Bay Packers. I mean, that was ugly. When you just handcuff a guy and take away what chance he had to win, I would much rather put my faith at that point and Aaron Rodgers completing a pass than the series of events it would have taken to pull off a miracle and pull that game out. But that being said, I mean, if you look at his record, very impressive. Matt LaFleur seems to be generally regarded as one of the better coaches in the league. Does he get canned after losing a first round playoff game? Hard to pinpoint that and say, well, what, they came out flat in the second half.
I mean, they had a big lead. Look, the Packers have gotten to this place where they're consistent every year, but they're not pushing forward. I like LaFleur would be my number one candidate over Harbaugh because he's like 20 years younger.
Yeah.
So I was hoping they would lose so that maybe the Packers would fire him. It's been a couple days and they haven't fired him yet. So I don't know. Maybe they're not going to fire him. I don't know. I don't know what.
How do you fire a guy just based on that?
You shouldn't. He's been consistent. He's young. They're in it every year. But look, with the Ravens, like these programs, I mean, they want to do with Tomlin. Like you get to a certain point where like you hit a plateau, and like you want to break through. Now, who are they going to get that's going to do better than LaFleur? No one. Like I would want LaFleur over any coach that's available. So that's again, it's not Mike McDaniel. Like people wanted to keep McDaniel here, and I was like, he's done nothing. All he's done is go backwards. Like,
is he really going to land a head coaching job again?
Like he'll get an OC job. Which I still don't understand the desire for him as an OC. I couldn't stand him as an OC. I thought his play calling was horrendous. I was not a fan of his play calling at all. But people look at stats and look at like the first 2 years, and they were so high flying. They're like, you put him with this offense. I'm like, it wouldn't work. Lamar Jackson, it's literally a timing, precision, passing offense, which is the antithesis of what Lamar Jackson does. Like. I don't even like they have him as like Mike Martz was back in the day. Like if you put him with an offensive mind, I'm like, you guys didn't watch any Dolphins like the last 2 years. Like his offense,
they were very suspect from.
It's gimmicky and garbage. Like it's fun early in the season when teams aren't ready, but the minute teams start catching up to it, they'll score 12. They score 11. They score like their offense fell off a cliff the last 2 years.
Yeah. All right. Dave Hyde's going to join us, so we're going to take a short time out. We'll get some real perspective on all of this stuff, especially going on around the local scene. I don't know. The Heat are falling apart. Panthers haven't been all that great of late. They get Kachuk back pretty soon. So that's something to take a look at. Haven't really diverted my attention. The NFL, you talk about it. They were screaming on Christmas Day, all of these stars, right? Barkley, LeBron, this is our day. It's our day. The NFL just comes in and they take your girlfriend with them. I mean, you definitely seized whatever investment you wanted to make in terms of paying attention to sports. Even if you weren't a football fan, you had to.
College football playoff. I mean, Friday night's game sucked, but like that should be
Miami game was great though.
A big attention getter. I forgot that it happened after Saturday and Sunday.
Yeah,
I forgot it happened.
Miami going out there and beating Ole Miss. That was, I mean, literally, you had 5 Thriller and Manila type ball games in terms of football being played. And yet, can you imagine this is not the time, you soccer people, to make the case that soccer is more exciting than NFL football? I'm sorry. Could you possibly even entertain like one sentence about that, Lubie? If somebody came up to you and said, you know what, Lubie? You're missing the boat here. Soccer is the most exciting sport. I know you got lured into it because you were easily
I'll watch it
by women in your life when you were watching NASCAR.
I've liked the World Cup since I was in college. Like the World Cup's fine.
World Cup's all right with me.
But I don't watch anything else, any other part of it. Like it's hard to get into like their league. The playoffs are like not even really a thing. It's the regular season. They're the opposite. Like the regular season's everything over there. Like I mean, I don't know. I mean, the World Cup's fun, but
any international competition at the highest level of sport.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't care if it's archery. Usually is kind of entertaining. All right, Dave Hyde going to join us from the Sun Sentinel. Always good talking to Dave, and we'll have Dave with us in just a moment. Now that
the time.
It's 8:35.
Hey, folks, Tony Segreto here. Let me ask you a question. What do you look for when you go out to eat? Good food, obviously, friendly atmosphere, not too loud, but good energy, reasonable prices, and a place where you feel comfortable. All those ingredients, no pun meant there, are hard to find unless you're talking about the Texas Roadhouse. You see, they encompass all of those attributes. Really, really good food, amazing atmosphere, good for a family, good for a date, or just a night out for yourself, and prices that will make you extremely happy. Their ribs, unmatched. Steaks, hand-cut every day. Everything, and I mean everything, is made on site, including their incredible bread. It's the one day, folks, that you can forget about low-carb diets. Trust me when I tell you, Texas Roadhouse, your restaurant, your destination when you say, where should we go and eat tonight?
From the new
Joe Bees. The bees collect the pollen, bring it to Joe, he packages it, and he gets it to you. It's simple, 100% natural, and it's good for you.
There's only one place to get Joe Bees, and that's from me. Joe B.
If you want to look and feel good, call 877-300-5632.
To win games, you have to win the game, not lose the game, honestly. And that is how you lose the game. You're moving the ball down the field. You're 1st and 10. And then you find yourself at 2nd and 20. That was critical.
Buenos dias. The cafecito is piping hot. Why not enjoy it with Defo and Lubie? It's now time for the Defo Show.
All right, welcome to the show. Good to be with you on this Peel Yourself Off the Mat Monday. Jeff DeForest and a very, very excited Mike Lubitz. It's always exciting to bring this gentleman on. I'm reminded of something that stuck with me. My dad had a cartoon he showed me many, many years ago. It was just actually a singular drawing. And it was a picture. There was a character in this cartoon feature series called Horntooth. And it had a picture of an exasperated Horntooth just looking aimlessly into the sky, and it was titled, captioned, Horntooth Looking for Inspiration. And we're always looking for inspiration, and that's why we bring this gentleman on the program. But if you were looking for inspiration, and you were a local writer here on the South Florida scene for the Sun Sentinel, I don't know that you could ask for much more. You have the good, you have the bad, and we may soon have the ugly. But we do have the Hurricanes in a national championship game, and the Dolphins involved in yet another Pilgrim. The search is over, another coaching search. So we welcome to the program to help discuss all of that and everything else on the sporting scene, the great Dave Hyde from the Sun Sentinel. David, how are you, my friend?
What a great introduction there, Defo. Thank you. It's good to be with you guys. Good to hear you.
It's always great to be with you, although we're a little bit upset, and I don't know if it's because you're not an early riser. Obviously, you've joined us many, many times at ridiculously early hours of the morning, but I do see you on video with Joe Rose, and we'd love to see you while we're here on the show. But having your voice and your voice of reason, while we tend to be a little bit on the insane, radical fringe side, is definitely a pleasure for us, and I'm sure it's very satisfying for the listeners as well. All right, let's begin with this. I don't know where you stand on this because you're more of a universal sports fan than a lot of people are. And while I can appreciate, I don't care what you like. I mean, whatever your interest is. If you want to go fishing off the pier, that's fine with me. If you want to play pickleball, that's okay with me. If notice the disdain, the dripping sarcasm with which I said that, being a tennis guy.
Checking both those boxes, by the way, Defo. Just to be clear.
But a friend of mine, a good friend of mine, I'm sure you're familiar with his voice anyway, from the many days of possibly listening to the Trivia Challenge on Saturdays, the Polyman. He's in an area that's heavily Hispanic and soccer-oriented, and he had a guy actually trying to make the argument that soccer was the most exciting sport in the world. And I don't know how you could say that after watching these wild card playoff games in the NFL, and then top that off with the Canes Ole Miss. Those were some of the most exciting games I've seen in any sport all time, especially grouped together in the same sport in a short period of time. What was your feeling about the wild card weekend? And before we get into the Miami stuff,
I feel drunk on football right now.
Yeah.
There was so much football from starting Thursday with the Canes through Sunday night, the 3 games yesterday, and I know there's one more tonight, but it was like, whenever the Dolphins season ends, which it ends on scheduled time, we know there's no surprise to it. You know when it's ending for the last 25 years. Right. There's a little sort of a melancholy feeling like, oh boy, there's football season's over. So this weekend was great to have so much football. But I tell you, some of the NFL football was really good, and like the Chargers-Patriots game, it was perfect to put me to sleep there about halftime. I was ready to go to bed.
I'm still impressed, though. I know Drake May was not necessarily the favorite to be the best of the quarterbacks that came out of that draft a couple of years ago. But he's impressed me the times that I've watched him. I know they didn't have any overwhelming output in terms of points by the offense in that game, and he had a couple of picks, I think, also. But he in general has really impressed me, and I kind of was downplaying the Vrabel hiring as if the Patriots had dug up Vince Lombardi, but he's been great. So that was nice to see, and that leads to this situation here. Is there somebody out there? And is it John Harbaugh? And is there any chance? I'll let you attack all of these, but we know that the questions are: is there any chance that the Dolphins acquire John Harbaugh as head coach? How serious are they? It appears very, because they've made changes to kind of clear the deck to have a shot to get him, including firing Mike McDaniel. So I'll let you take it, Dave Hyde. The McDaniel firing and the possibilities with Harbaugh.
Well, I like what they've done. From a philosophical standpoint, I don't know the people. I don't know the John Eric Sullivan. But the idea was, for once, Steve Ross cleared the deck. He got rid of the GM, and his staff. He got rid of the coach, and starting everybody on the same timetable. And I mean, they don't have a quarterback, so there's the three pieces they need. But at least instead of this mixed marriage of Mike McDaniel comes in and Chris Greer's already been there for 7 years, and so what kind of a it's kind of a cobbled marriage, and when that's how Ross has always done it. So now, they're not only starting at the same time with everybody, but they're deciding that we got to get the GM first. And I agree. The talent evaluator is the most important thing in any person in any pro sport. Whoever that guy is, sometimes it's the coach, sometimes it's the GM, sometimes it's somebody, whisper to the GM. But the way the Dolphins are set up, it's the GM now. And they went out and they got, in their mind, the best talent evaluator they could. So I like I like the thinking behind it all. Now we'll see if they get the right guy and all that.
What do we know of this guy, Dave? Or have we learned anything new since his hiring?
Just on the margins. He's a career Green Bay Packer. I mean, he was a life insurance, I believe, salesman, and decided to go. He was a small college football player. Decided he wanted to get back into football. Became an intern with the Packers in 2003, and rose through the ranks there. So his whole model is the Packers, and Ted Thompson and Ron Wolf before that. How to build a team, how to who they're going to draft, etc. So that's the good news. They've figured out how to get quarterbacks, now his decision is going to be like, okay, Green Bay has an interesting backup quarter, Malik Willis, who's a free agent now. Yeah. They got two. Jeff Hafley, the defensive coordinator, is going to be interviewed for the Dolphins coaching job, and maybe LaFleur comes free, because that's a whole different situation. So it might be Green Bay South down here. We'll have to see. And is that a good thing? Is it a he's only hiring Green Bay people because that's who he knows, instead of the whole league? I don't know. We'll have to see how it plays out here.
Although I believe there was a story floating that they are renaming Hard Rock Stadium Lambeau 2. It's going to be Green Bay South. We'll all be wearing foam rubber cheeses on our head when we walk around town now to try and stay out of the sun and avoid, skin cancer. But all right, and then what was comical to me, I don't know how you felt about this. Wanted to get your comment on it, but the idea that Mike McDaniel, before being axed, was going to be a consultant in the GM search, and we thought, why not just bring in Boom Boom Mancini or somebody like that? How irrelevant should this be? That and how concerning would it be that the coach who's on the hot seat is making a choice of who the general manager is going to be, or is influential in it? apparently it didn't sit well overall because as soon as Harbaugh became available, McDaniel suddenly gets fired. Do you think if Harbaugh had not gotten canned by the Ravens, that McDaniel would still be the head coach of this team?
I was told it was irrelevant to the process.
Okay.
So take that for what it is. The reason I was told it didn't happen when it should have happened, which was on the so-termed Black Monday, the day after the season, when, what was it, 6 or 7 other coaches were fired, because that makes sense. Okay, we're going to move on. Was simply Steve Ross couldn't come to grips that he has to fire Mike McDaniel. Mm-hmm. And so he took extra long to fire him, and a Tuesday meeting, he was hoping I don't know what he was hoping to hear from Mike that would change his mind that, okay, I can keep him. But they had a Tuesday meeting, and again, Thursday came the decision. But really, it should have been, should have happened right after the season when everybody gets fired, who's going to get fired. And of course the Dolphins did their own way, and that led to a lot of confusion and theories of what's going on. I thought for sure, okay, John Harbaugh came free, and all of a sudden, instead of keeping McDaniel, they're going to fire him. So I thought for sure they're going after Harbaugh, and I was told that wasn't the case, that they are going after the GM first because they value the position the most, and I get that. The easy thing would have been to slide the keys across the table to John Harbaugh and say, you build an organization. Yeah. And I'm still, I wrote that's what they should do. I still don't, I still think that would have been a nice way to go. On the other hand, if they, for weeks they'd been looking at a GM and had a process in place, and they came to, had Troy Aikman helping them, and et cetera. And they came to the idea that this Sullivan from Green Bay was the guy. So, and he's well respected in the league. So I we'll see where this goes.
As we move forward with the Dolphins franchise, it's interesting to me that Mike McDaniel's name keeps popping up all across the league, whether it's for offensive coordinator positions or even head coaching positions. And look, I thought his offense I liked the hire when it happened. I liked the guy the first 2 years, but it felt like, again, you brought up and Perks brought up a lot, that they didn't beat good teams. That never changed. For 4 years, his teams struggled against good teams. They also struggled in the cold year in, year out. And they also struggled against physical teams, and they never seemed to get more physical. And as the seasons would go on, his offenses would peter out. And again, maybe I'm just overly negative, but I'm very confused as this belief in him being this offensive guru, even after you saw 4 years of no growth with the Miami Dolphins.
Yeah, I get what you're saying, and I don't disagree. That from the head coach, the culture that he brought, and then you saw he got walked all over by some players, Jalen Ramsey, Tyreek Hill for starters. But I get it. Look, Mike, his ideas have traveled across the league, all over. I mean, he that little motion that he brought for Tyreek, a lot of the motion of his offense, those ideas are being copied across the league. And now, what he did with the run game midway through the season, the angles, the different things he's done. Again, those ideas are being copied. So I get, teams look at that and they say, where's that all coming from? Oh, that's coming from Mike McDaniel. Well, let's bring him in. I get why teams went out. I really think he would be a great offensive coordinator if he, refined some of his coaching stuff and learns from the past 4 years. But, a head coach, I hope it's sort of an Adam Gase situation. After Adam Gase was fired, I thought, boy, it'd be really good for him to sit back and think about what happened here. And he immediately went to another awful organization, the Jets, and that didn't work out. And I the same with Mike. I hear the Browns are interested, and you talk about an awful organization. So unless he's ready to, they empower him to clean up the whole organization. I don't think that's him. I don't think, it might be Harbaugh, who's been around forever and been in a great organization and watched how to build things. But I understand why teams are interested in Mike. He really has some great concepts on offense.
You didn't, by the way, the headline writer didn't use the headline that Lubie and I came up with, which was Black Monday wasn't black enough for Miami fans. But we did get it subsequent to that. All right, let's move on to happier things. We said we were searching for inspiration here, and talking about the Dolphins is often like presiding over a wake, or so it seems to be. I mean, you're ready to just gargle some ether and say, okay, let's take a call here. Manny from Miramar, what do you think? Looks like another lousy year, Defo. Hurricanes, on the other hand, have defeated the crystal ball factor, which we discussed during the season, playing great football, and yet this was really punishing. The performance by Indiana on Friday night put our good friend, a professor, who's got a substantial wager at 20-1 on the Hurricanes to win the championship that he made before the playoffs. Tough to hedge off when Indiana became such a heavy favorite. You have to lay 312 to win 100 now. So is that it? I mean, do you share that opinion that Indiana looked that much better than the Hurricane football team did in defeating the three teams that they mowed down on the road to get here?
Well, I mean, Indiana blew out three teams or two teams, and they. But go back to the Big Ten title. They beat, what was it, 13-10? They beat Ohio State.
Yes.
And look at Ohio. Look what Miami did to Ohio State. It was a tight game, but
they
won in convincing fashion too. So I for whatever reason, everybody has undervalued Miami's run, and I'm not saying undervalued from the accomplishment, but going in like Texas A&M, they weren't supposed to win. Ohio State, they weren't supposed to win. Mississippi. Now Miami was favored, but it was a weird. I mean, Mississippi was just a weird situation with the coaching and all that stuff. So I expect a great game. I don't think famous last words, but I don't think it'll be a blowout one way or the other. Certainly not Indiana's standpoint, and Miami's playing at basically a home game. So that's got to help them. But what Miami's done is they're playing with complete house money right now. The step they were supposed to take this year was to get in the playoffs. Maybe win a game, but to get in the playoffs, that would have been their. And now here they are in the championship game, and it's been it's been a great ride for them. I thought after the SMU game they were done. Probably like with most people, I thought that was the loss in the middle of the season that they're not going to recover from. And the final four games of the regular season, they really started to look. They became the team that I thought after Notre Dame they were going to be all year. They don't really have a weakness, or Chris Bull's built a nice program.
All right, one more thing, because you've been very generous, as always, with your time here. Dave Hyde of the Sun Sentinel with us here on the show. This couldn't be any more of a layup for a writer, could it? I mean, look what you have going on. You have Mendoza coming back, a kid that played ball here, Cuban descent, against a coach that's of Cuban descent on Miami's side. And it's the game's right here. Miami hasn't won a title in 25 years. We're bordering on becoming, I don't know about irrelevant, but certainly not any substantial major headline maker on the college football grid. Haven't even won the ACC title. Didn't play in the title game. Have they ever played in the ACC title game? The University of Miami.
They have played in it, but they never won it. I think they played in it once or twice with Mark Richt. They played once, I know.
And they're on a border of a precipice of maybe winning a national championship. And on the other side, you've got Indiana, who hasn't had done much since Bobby Knight was throwing chairs. And that was in another sport with a different shaped ball and nothing on the football gridiron. They were also rans every year. And this Signetti guy comes in there. And then on top of that, you got all these Nick Saban disciples that were involved in the semifinals, all 4 coaches. Pretty weird because we despise Nick Saban, but nonetheless. And thank you for asking that question, by the way, Dave. It was you. It was you at that press conference. I'm not taking the Alabama job, so that was a brilliant. I mean, to evoke.
The difference is, I actually liked covering Saban. I thought he was a fascinating coach, and fun to cover in that he was odd to cover, but he gave ideas of philosophy, of football, of life, of little quirks in his personality. He was an interesting guy, and it's obviously it's borne out.
Looked like a rat.
As far as this game.
Yeah, I mean, what's going to be your main storyline? You got a week's worth of stories to write, and they hand you a thing like this. Oh my God, Dave Hyde! Well, what a pleasure this must be.
It's beautiful. It's a beautiful palette for a sports writer. I just hope I can match the moment.
You're very good at this.
Mendoza comes out of here, out of Columbus High, and he has 1 scholarship offer to Yale, which speaks of who he is, I guess. But then at the last second, Cal Berkeley comes in and he's off. And, he must have been a late bloomer. Miami had a chance at him twice. It's interesting. Out of high school, and they did not interested. And then out of Cal Berkeley, when I went to Indiana, Miami got Carson Beck, and that's worked out great for them. But it's interesting, Miami wasn't interested in either time. Even more interesting because Mendoza's father played in high school on the offensive line with Mario Cristobal.
There's another story.
So it's just full of great stories. You're right.
So what are we reading tomorrow? What are we reading tomorrow then? Where do you go? I guess Mendoza's not in town yet. With the
Well, I was gonna write because it's funny. My wife's a teacher, and we were at a party over Christmas, teacher's party, and one of the people there is named Mendoza. And I'm talking to them. It turns out she's related, and I go, "Oh, really? How interesting." And it turns out she goes, but it's a big group. She got a book down. There are 800 Mendozas at the last family reunion in Miami. Okay. 800 of them.
Oh, my God.
800. And, but evidently ESPN did something on that this weekend. And so I was like very disappointed. I had that in my hip pocket to come out with. I still might do that. We'll have to see.
In case we don't get to talk to you again before this happens, what's your thought on the outcome of the game?
You know what? I got to pick Miami just from. I've been picking them. Here's the problem with watching a team win and have a run like Miami's is you think how good they are, and they are really good. But there's another team on the other side that's having an equal run, and so. Sometimes it's hard to see the team you've been following real closely get beat. But I'm gonna go with Miami again. I think at home, they got everything clicking right now, so I'll stick with them.
Amazing too. I mean, comeback coach of the year has to be Cristobal. As the many allusions we had to the Cristobal factor being a high negative, since that SMU loss, they literally have looked like a much different team. And they're on a nice little steam.
They evidently had meetings and all this stuff that you look back on and say, well, maybe that didn't. I don't know. But they had, the Louisville loss and SMU lost 3 weeks, and they looked like, okay, they're done as far as the playoffs for this year, and they put together a nice run and now a magical run through the playoffs.
I'm assuming you'll be there. Would you pay $3,000 to sit in the nosebleed for a game like this?
Wow, you're talking to the wrong person about.
Well, I mean, it's not free. I mean, it's not me.
I've seen so many games. I'm numb to games. That's the weird thing about this business. But I will be in my professional services. I will be at the game and looking forward to it.
Oh, nice. All right. All right, Dave, it's always a pleasure. Thank you for taking time with us. So we have to get your handsome face on the video one of these days soon, but always appreciate you coming on the show. Great perspective, and look forward to your stories in the Sun Sentinel.
All right, Defo. Good talking to you, Lubie. Take
Thanks,
care.
Hyde, man.
All right, thanks a lot. Dave Hyde, ladies and gentlemen. All right, that was interesting. Wow, I mean, when you think about the story angles for this game, if you were a college football writer, Lubie.
Oh, no, it's all over the place.
My God.
Mendoza coming back, South
Mendoza.
Florida. He always, I think he wanted to be a Cane, and twice they didn't go after him. He then
Now he
goes
has a
to
chance to be
Heisman.
a very likable kid. No, from what I've seen.
Yeah, well, no, he's turned into a really good quarterback, and he's a team guy. Like, it's all about the team. It's, you don't hear him. He's always involved in everything and uplifting the team. And it's funny, you watched Miami get past Ole Miss and like, oh, they're playing really good football.
Yeah.
And then you watch Indiana play a vastly better team in Oregon and just beat the living crap out of them from every phase. And it was like, so this is what people have been talking about with Indiana all year.
What did Dante Moore do to his chance to be the number 2 pick in the draft?
He fell off a cliff.
Finished, right?
Because a lot of it was just him. Like, he made really bad.
First play of the game, you throw a pick. 6.
And then the fumble when he goes to throw with his running back in his purview, and he doesn't see him, even though you should be able to see him, and he fumbles it off of his running back standing there. And
he didn't look like the answer for the Jets. There was some speculation that whoever played better in that ball game, clearly it was Mendoza. I mean, as the score would indicate, but Moore looked lost. It wasn't like you just said, "Oh well, geez, Indiana was a much better team," but what a hell of a quarterback this guy was. I mean, he was largely responsible for them getting trounced.
Yes.
So, and Steve Serby in the Post was saying that the Jets can't take this kid. He's got to go back to school for another year.
I mean, he may after that game, it was rough. I mean, again, Indiana seemed to do that to quarterbacks all year long, and people are still. It's funny that credit that Miami doesn't get. Indiana's worse because Miami's been 4 games, aren't they? Like, Indiana's done this the entire year. And yes, the Ohio State game was close, and they won by 3. And but they were.
And Ohio State, did themselves in missing field goals, extra points, things like that.
It's not like Miami felt more dominant over Ohio State than Indiana did. It felt like Indiana just didn't get that last score that made it look bigger than it really was. Like, the Miami game didn't feel like a 2-score game. So I know they won by 2 scores, and that's what the Miami fans. We'll see how we beat. Yeah, but look at how they beat everyone else. They've literally dominated everyone they played this entire year. Like, you guys didn't start that until the second half, and you haven't done that in the playoffs at all. And honestly, again, if it's not a goddamn hurricane, I think A&M wins by 2 scores. And if Ohio State just plays their game, I think they win by 3. Like, Indiana's gotten everyone's best shot, and they just are pummeling teams. I'm not assuming it's going to be a blowout, because Miami is physical and they can get after it, and Canes fans assume they're going to make life hard for Mendoza. Watch the Indiana game. Oregon is very similar to Miami. Like, Oregon, literally, I thought that would be a really tough game. They're built very similarly. They're a big physical team, all that physical garbage that the Miami fans like to throw around. Indiana, people are doing a weird thing with Indiana. Like, yeah,
Indiana was very physical with Ohio
They're
State.
not finesse guys. Like, they're not finesse. It's the opposite. Like, they're undersized and they don't care. Like, it's actually scarier to be smaller and more physical, because it's almost impossible to be smaller and more physical.
I mean, you always appreciate that. You see some fighter, it looks like he's going to be overwhelmed by the physicality of the other guy, and he can take a punch. All of a sudden, he's still standing there. That's kind of like Indiana. And then they do have I don't know that you would consider them a finesse team, but this Mendoza is an extremely accurate passer.
Yes, and he can avoid a rush.
With a great head on his shoulders. I mean, really, as I said, a delightful kid. The post-game interviews, they may be a little wide-eyed, but nonetheless, very, very humble, and seems to be having a great time doing what he's doing. So,
well, and he tends to not make the mistakes that Miami's thrived on. Look, if Sayan is just smart after that bomb and throws it up to Smith, and it's 7-7, not 14-0, what's that game? Like, Mendoza hasn't done that. Like, Mendoza knows the team he has and trusts the team he has. Like, their defense is scary. Like, Miami's physical, yeah, but their linebacking cores and their secondary is not good. Like, Indiana doesn't have that weakness. There's no weakness. Like, and again, I'm not an Indiana fan. I don't give a crap. I've done the same thing with Indiana I do with Miami. I've always, every week, thought they'd lose because it's Indiana.
Yeah.
But I watched that game, and I watched Oregon, and I thought Oregon would probably find a way to win that game. they were pushed around. And again, they are very much built in the same vein as Miami. They are the physical team. They want to get after it. They're very much SEC built by Dan Lanning. You sure? Like Indiana was in it.
Throttled
They're
them.
getting pressure with 4 dudes without blitzing against a really good offensive line. And it shouldn't be a whooping. It should be a tight game. It's just really hard for me to figure out the benefit Miami has in this matchup.
I love that, Lubie, man. You're already very passionate about this. It's going to be a good week. All right. You can't go wrong with stories for this week, especially with Miami in the championship game here in town. And, wow, 25 years. I didn't realize it had been that long since Larry Coca won that championship. A lot of talk about that last play not being called pass interference in a ball game. And I would have to agree. That was a mugging. So a makeup call in the Fiesta Bowl. For that horrendous injustice that took place. Christy Nome-like injustice. She was going to run him over. All right, enough of that. It's upsetting, though. I mean, if you're a red-blooded American, you don't want to see American citizens being shot in the streets. Wasn't like I didn't think she was going out of her way to arrest these guys. Did you?
No, she was trying to get away. She was freaking out. Like they
scared too. I mean, what's with the masks?
Yeah.
Who was that masked man? All right. And how easy was it to tell that Zorro is Don Diego de la Vega? Come on. That stupid little mask was going to fool everyone. Oh, yeah, I didn't recognize you. Unreal. It's kind of like the Superman costume.
Superman was always ridiculous.
He takes the glasses off and takes off the gray suit and boom. Puts on some, tights and no one can recognize it's the same effing guy. Get out of here.
That was always weird.
Lois Lane couldn't tell?
Yeah, come on.
Superman, you're so much like Clark. She probably, because he was Superman, thought that he was a much better lover as Superman than as Clark Kent, right? He probably got no credit whatsoever.
Exactly.
I'm not sleeping with you, Clark. You're an Earth. Guy's got to steal. I mean, how did we get there, Louie? We should get out of here. That's why. And we will see you guys tomorrow. Thanks so much for tuning in. For Mike Lubie, Dave Hyde, we thank him for being with us as always. I'm Jeff DeForest. We'll see you next time as we leave you know that.
The time.
She really couldn't tell, Louie. That's what kind of reporter could she have been? I wonder Jimmy Olsen was getting all the bylines. It's 9:08.
Let's go to eat a damn snack.
Look what they done to my soul.